2025 offseason grades for the New Orleans Saints. All right, now this is taking into account the entirety of the offseason. All right, not just the draft, not just Kelvin Banks, not just Tyler Shuck. This is the whole thing. Seems like 50 years ago we signed Justin Reed. I mean, it is crazy how this offseason has been, where when you really think about it, it wasn't too long ago we were at the Super Bowl and Kellen Moore was coaching for the Eagles, right? So we've got Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley, all of the staff, Justin Reed, the entire draft class, 9 draft picks, Tyler Shuck. I mean, it has been a crazy offseason for the New Orleans Saints. So we're going to try and put that all together with CBS Sports, Haley Sutton, Logan Ryan, and Chuck Davis.
Issues aplenty when it comes to them. We don't know the status of Derek Carr as he's dealing with another injury. They did draft his potential replacement in Tyler Shuck, Logan, but new head coach Kellen Moore will start his career with a C- as his offseason grade.
Yeah, and this was inevitable. Not his fault. This was coming for a long time. The Saints roster's been aging. They've been kicking the can in terms of repaying guys and restructuring guys, and now you got to pay the bill. Not able to get too active in free agency. The worst news of the Saints offseason, I don't care, is Derek Carr's injury. I mean, when your star quarterback, the guy that you've invested all this money to want to be the face of the franchise, comes in, not playing
I'm the face of the franchise.
Extremely well, but playing good enough, capable starting football, to then have an injury where he might not be ready to play right away or might not play much this season, that is jarring. This is going to be all on Tyler Shuck. This was the choice that they made in this draft. This guy's going to be compared to Shedeur Sanders.
All right, I think C- is crazy. I think this has been a really good offseason. I said the same thing last year. You cannot overlook the difference in the upgrade from Pete Carmichael to Clint Kubiak, and you cannot overlook how crazy the situation was last year with Dennis Allen, him getting fired, Darren Rizzi, Clint Kubiak's first year, who the hell is calling the defense, what's going on here, to now having a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, 36 years old, having a former head coach, Brandon Staley, as your DC, having a fully vetted staff, all right? Staff is handpicked. Everyone's on the same page. We don't have any stragglers. We don't have any mismatches. Everyone's rocking and rolling. That should be on this acquisition list right here. If you add Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley, blah, 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 on the acquisitions, that's pretty impressive. As far as lost, Paulson Adebo was injured last year. Would love to have him. $50 million, bit much. Okay, the Saints traded Marshawn Lattimore, got some, which also probably, well, it's not off season, I guess, but in the package with Lattimore, in those draft picks, took his replacement in Quincy Riley. Now, draft class, I love the draft class. Everyone's going to be talking about Tyler Shuck, but Kelvin Banks, Broughton, Sanker, Stutzman, Riley, Neal, Mataveo, Mataveo's, I don't think I'm going to do too much, but Fadil Diggs even. These are 9 players who can play the game. And if you take out Mataveo, and let's say you take out Mataveo and Diggs, Neal, Riley, Stutzman, Sanker, Broughton, Shuck, and Banks, as of right now, as of this moment, they are expected to start. Maybe not Sanker, but Sanker will play a lot on the defense. Stutzman is expected to start. Riley will be absolutely in the mix. Devin Neal will not start, but he'll be the backup running back. He'll get a lot of the work, a ton of what's going to be going on in the backfield. Banks will absolutely be the starting. If Shuck is the starting quarterback, I think this is a lot. I think the Saints have done a lot this season. You also have to factor in, it's not an acquisition per se, but you have to factor in that these guys are healthy. And it's kind of free rolling where, last year there's so many injuries on the offensive line. There's so many injuries at wide receiver. You almost do have to factor in Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. You kind of do have to factor in Eric McCoy. Like these guys who you did not have last year, who are elite level players. Like Eric McCoy is one of the best centers in the NFL. So having a revolving door at center, having revolving doors at wide receivers or practice squad players or players who are literally just off the street, just off the free agency, off their couches, to now you've got whatever you think about Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, but they are legit players. Like going from Mason Tipton and Bud Means to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave is an enormous jump. Going from some combination of Lucas Patrick and who the hell, Connor McGovern, to Eric McCoy, huge difference. All right. So, I mean, even like DeMario Davis missed time last year. Like there was a ton of injuries. Who knows if injuries will happen again, but that with the 9-player draft class, with Justin Reed, Brandon Cooks, Isaac Yiadom, Devon Godshaw, with the coaching staff, how the hell can this be a C-?
And some of these other quarterbacks, for quite some time, that was a shocking pick. Kelvin Banks got the offensive line, right? Got a great offensive lineman there. That's the safest thing to do. Try to run the ball, try to make it easier. But you got Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck competing at starting quarterback right now in this division and try to take off the Bucs from the top there. You look at their acquisitions in free agency, Isaac Yiadom, Justin Reed, they bring back Chase Young, they bring back Brandon Cooks. This looks like free agency from 3 years ago. Weren't these guys Saints before? So I don't know what they're doing there, but they didn't have a lot of options to work with. They didn't have a lot of money in free agency. And obviously this was, I think, a shocking pick for a lot of people in the draft there to choose this quarterback third in this draft class. But we will see. Kellen Moore knows how to evaluate quarterbacks, or he was a quarterback. So this is the guy they put their money on. But they did not go out there and splash it up. This was not a splash offseason for them. They are trying to put bandages on bullet holes right now over there in New Orleans and try to do the best they can because this has been coming for a long time.
Well, Professor Ryan, I'm going to tell you right off the top, you remind me of a professor I had in college. I handed a paper one time and got it back. You know what it said at the top? This paper is so bad that I failed not only you, but everyone that looks like you. So I understand this tough grading. So I get it. Here's the deal. Kelvin Banks coming in at tackle. Talisi Fuaga was their choice last year, first round at tackle. One of them's going to play left, one of them's going to play right. It looks like they can move Banks to left and take Fuaga, last year's left tackle, move him to right tackle. Logan, does that not sound like Mickey Loomis over the years, drafting for offensive line as he did for Sean Payton, making sure they're secure there? Then you get Shuck, and I think you're right. He's going to be the tail of this draft for them. Can he come in and compete right away? Because Spencer Rattler's there, Jake Hayner's there, Havener's
Don't worry about Jake Hayner. Trust me.
there. He should be the guy that just should emerge. 3 schools, 4 degrees, 26 years old. He's got to be able to go right now. Going deeper into this draft, I think they drafted guys that are going to take over in the future because you mentioned an aging roster. Well,
not really. Like the Saints I think the Saints learned a valuable lesson last year where they looked around and said, damn, our depth, like if we get some people hurt, we are kind of cooked. So they got guys who, if that happens again, I think they're totally cool with turning to these guys. You know, like they're totally cool with turning to Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, obviously Tyler Shuck, Danny Stutzman, Devin Neal, even Fadil Digg. Like they are good turning to these guys, and that is way different than some of the Saints draft classes, even last year. Like Jaden Ford and Christian Boyd, like those guys who were late round draft picks. I know there were some injuries, but they weren't playing no matter what, even if everyone else was injured. Even if they're all injured, the entire roster's injured, they aren't getting on the field. You know, like they are obviously projects. And this group is not that. This group's the opposite. This group, all of them have played a lot of snaps, a lot of production at the collegiate level. I mean, Devin Neal had a 90 PFF rushing grade. I think he's the all-time rushing leader at Kansas. Like these guys played the game. Quincy Riley played the game. Danny Stutzman, All-American. Like these are not projects. And you look at where they're coming from. Syracuse, UCLA, Kansas, Louisville, Oklahoma, Virginia, Texas, Louisville, Texas. Like these are Power 5 programs. Are they coming from, Georgia, Ohio State, whatever? No, but they're not coming from Northern Illinois. They're not coming from William and Mary. These guys were drafted to play. These guys were drafted to fill out that roster. And, I mean, even at the safety position, you're talking about Tyrann, Justin Reed. Oh, and you also have Jonas Sanker. Like, it's showing you right there, there's depth. All right? You go and get Isaac Yiadom. Why stop there? Boom, Quincy Riley. Now, who knows what the rotation is going to be, but you're rolling in there with Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, and Isaac Adam. All right, we'll see what happens. They have about 14 different edge rushers who's going to get after the quarterback. You've got Vernon Broughton coming in there. I mean, they got players everywhere on top of the players that were injured last year returning. So I'm working myself into a shoot a little bit, but I think the Saints could be really surprising this year because people look at the Saints have been very under the radar since Sean Payton and Drew Brees have left, and we can see it with the coverage that we get where people just don't really pay attention to the Saints. And I think they see 5 wins. They see the Derek Carr fiasco. They see Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, and they're going to immediately put this team at the bottom. They're going to immediately put this team at 32, 31, 30. But if you pay attention to who is coming back from injury, if you pay attention to the draft class, quarterback position is absolutely volatile. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? This looks more like a 7-win team at the bottom than it does a 5 or worse team at the bottom. So I'd be really surprised. I would be really, really surprised if this team was one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think it's a good offseason. It really steadied the boat. I mean, for a team that we all know the situation with the salary cap and aging players and Derek Carr and whatnot, the fact that we had as good of an offseason as we had while preparing for 2026, 2027, when the salary cap gets a little bit of relief, I think it's been pretty sporty. And that's not even factoring in the coaches. So I think we nailed the offseason. I mean, think about the puzzle that Mickey Loomis had to put together this offseason. He had to go get the coach. He had to dodge Mike McCarthy and dodge hiring, whoever, just whoever was knocking, right? But he held out and he said, you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what happens with Kellen Moore. Maybe we can make something happen there. It works out, all right? I think he's done a really good job. And this is a tumultuous time, especially with the Derek Carr stuff. So there's still a long way to go until week 1. But I think a B is as low as you can go with this offseason.
Well, his secondary is Justin Reed and Tyron Mitchell. So you draft Jonas Sanker, who I really like at the University of Virginia. And linebacker, Demario.
Old Tyron Mitchell. Wow.
Davis is the ageless wonder. He keeps going. But at some point, so they get Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. These guys should be ready to go. Quincy Riley deep into the draft, a 4th rounder. He's going to press to start on the corner. Tough, hard-nosed kid, very active on the corner. He'll press to do that. But all in all, trying to get it fixed. Here's the thing, though, Logan. In this division, everyone thinks they have hope. Tampa Bay's won it 4 straight years, but they haven't run away with the division since Tom Brady's second to last year in Tampa. Remember, the last 3 years, they were 8-9, 9-8, 10-7. Everyone feels like they can still get there, even New Orleans.
This division is a who's going to take that step. If Carolina, if Bryce Young and all of them take a step, Carolina can be right in the conversation. If Atlanta with Michael Penix and they figure out, Kyle Pitts, LOL, and they get some stuff working, maybe they can take the step. And Chuck's right. It does not take that much. You are not competing with the Eagles and the Chiefs and the Lions. You need to be in that 9-win, 10-win world. And all these teams are right there. They're all they might be a 6-7 win team, but if some of this stuff is realized or some of these players have career years or whatever, they can make that jump to 9-10 wins. And in 9-10 wins, you are fighting for this division. So even though it looks like Tampa is the runaway favorite, which they probably should be, I mean, Tampa didn't have very many question marks. I guess the biggest question mark is offensive coordinator. But Tampa, I think, should be the favorite, but I would not overlook Atlanta, New Orleans, or Carolina as 3 teams that can take a step. Atlanta, I would probably be the most down on Atlanta just because I don't like the head coach. And I think he's just, I don't think he's, I just have I don't have as much faith in him as I do in Kellen Moore and Canales, but I'm more of an offensive. I think offensively more in 2025, so that might be a me thing. But I think Atlanta's a team that has a lot of question marks that is kind of getting by on name value. And we said this last year. Like a lot of people were like, look, this is a 12-win team, like Kyle Pitts and this player and this player, and it's like, yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts kind of sucks, and then it turns out, Kyle Pitts kind of sucks. All right, so I don't know. I mean, I do think, and sometimes I question this whenever I'm doing these because I'm so in it every day that I always check myself where it's like, all right, I don't want to be too bullish. I don't want to be like, oh yeah. This is Saints absolutely should win the division. It's like, no, they probably absolutely shouldn't. They probably shouldn't even be the favorites, which they aren't. The Buccaneers absolutely. Saints probably are still behind Atlanta right now. Close though, and Carolina's kind of made up some ground. So I think very similar to last year. Last year I had Carolina way behind, but I had Tampa, Atlanta, and the Saints all right there. Like 17, 18, 19, or 14, 15, 16 in the power rankings. I think this year, Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans are all like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, how whatever the actual number is. But they are right there. And we'll see. We'll see what Kellen Moore can do. We'll see if Bryce Young can truly take that next step for Carolina. We'll see if Michael Penix can put it together for a full season. Each team has these question marks. But I think the Saints tooled themselves, got enough tools this offseason to put themselves in a position where they can be successful. This is not a rebuild. Like, this is not a tear it down, rebuild, tank, be the worst team in the NFL. I think they're too talented roster-wise just to do that. I don't care if it's Tyler Shuck. I don't care if it's Spencer Rattler. You don't have this offensive line. You don't have these playmakers. You don't have that defense. And now you don't have this depth. And all of a sudden, you're the worst team in the NFL. So if they're below average, would I be surprised? No. Would I be surprised if the Saints won 9 games, made the playoffs, and shocked the world? No, I wouldn't be surprised. So that because of that, like if you go from 5 wins to that world, you could only do that with a good offseason, and especially with how tricky the Saints situation is. I thought Mickey nailed it. I mean, you got to give him his flowers, for holding on to the draft picks, making good draft picks, good productive players, signing a couple key guys, some of them on the cheap, like getting Brandon Cooks, like stuff like that. Like Brandon Cooks is a guy who super productive when not injured, super productive. And then you're like, all right, well, is this a buy low opportunity? Is it a buy low opportunity on Brandon Cooks? Some would argue yes. So the Saints are great value shoppers when it comes to that. And then you have someone like Justin Reed, who's a legitimate player at a legitimate position in the league. So, I really like it. I have no qualms with the offseason.
I think right now Atlanta's best positioned.
I said it off the top. This division is always crazy, no matter how you slice it up. Guys, I'm giving you both.
Yeah, this is crazy. Plus 700 to win the South is nuts. Not so much because they should win the South, but I don't think they're that much further. I don't think they're that much further behind than Carolina. So you can bet exactas in the division, which means you pick all 4 to finish. I don't think you should bet the Saints to win the division unless you're just doing it for fun. But Tampa to win, Saints to be second, Carolina third, Atlanta fourth, that's a pretty sexy payout right there, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. So be careful. 7-1, like it's probably worth a flyer. If you want to bet $50 for the Saints to win the division, root for it all year long. Who cares? I've got future tickets, you're trying to find value. All right, so I don't blame you here. But they shouldn't be. There's not this much of a discrepancy between New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta. And I think the wins show that. I think Atlanta, I think their win total is only like 7.5. I think the Saints is 6.5. So, in my opinion, you can't be a game difference and be that much worse off in the futures board. So, that's just how I look at this.
Both an A+ for your effort here as we grade the NFC South, and as we take a look at the odds to win the division, it is once again the Bucs at plus 110, looking for their 5th straight division title in the NFC South. The Saints have a chance, but it's quite long there at plus 700.
It'll be a fun season. Good off season though. But I'm ready for training camp reps, rookie mini camp. I'm ready to start seeing some action. So let me know in the comments below, what would you give the grade for the total off season? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.